Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills in order to help you level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're entering the world of storytelling, and I'm going to be teaching you what Jerry Seinfeld can teach you about storytelling, especially for the new year. In this era, there's so much information around us where people don't need more information. What they need is a story. And there's different ways to think of a story. Some people think of it as a fairy tale for little kids. Other people think of it as once upon a time, this, and this happened. Other people think about it in terms of something grand, like Titanic. If I were to come up to you right now and be like, tell me a story, how would you feel? Especially if you're someone that routinely doesn't tell stories. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be thinking, all right, just give me some time to prepare this. You just sprung this on me out of nowhere. I need some time. Envision that feeling real quick. Then, if I ask you, what's your name? That is going to be an effortless feeling. You're going to be like, oh, Ricky. And then you're just going to go about the conversation. Envision that feeling. Two completely disparate feelings. With storytelling, is something that caused nerves. With saying your name, it was effortless. What would you do if I told you that you telling stories could be effortless like you saying your name? You want to know how? You start to think like Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is one of the most prolific comedians of our generation. And what makes him even more profound is that he notices the little things. Nothing grand, but the little things. He'll notice things that are off whenever he's going to a restaurant. He'll notice little quirks in people's mannerisms when they're interacting with him. He'll be able to talk about Pop-Tarts for an extended period of time. It's the little things. And once you can start to focus on the little things, that's when you start to become a better storyteller. Now, I don't necessarily mean little things in terms of small or in terms of height. I mean little things in terms of ordinary. Right now, there's a mistake that's being made. And the mistake is that whenever a person is thinking about storytelling, they're thinking that they have to tell a story that is beyond their experiences. Maybe it's about a fantasy character. Maybe it's about themselves, but they feel like they have to make something very grand. A part of them is like, wait, you want me to focus on the ordinary, the small things? Nah, that's not going to make for a compelling story. But Jerry Seinfeld proved otherwise. I want to give you an example of one of these little ordinary stories that I'm speaking about. You ever seen a wallet before? And this is predominantly for a lot of the guys who are going to resonate with this. But if you're a woman, you may be able to resonate with this too. But you know a wallet, like one of these wallets, which pocket do you put this wallet in? For me personally, I always put it in my back right pocket. I thought everyone did this. I thought this was just the norm. But recently, I actually met a few people who said that putting the pocket in the back was not right. Not only was it bad for a person's spine, it's actually bad because let's say you're walking around in the street somewhere, it's easier to get pickpocketed as well. So why would you put it in the back? I asked them where they put it. They're like, well, I put it in the front right pocket. When I heard that, I listened to them. they were making a nice little logical case for why I should switch as well. But deep inside, I felt a little offended. It's like they were trying to convince me, look. You've been right-handed your entire life, but here's a logical case for why using your left hand is better. That's what I heard. So to this day, I still put my wallet in my back right pocket. There wasn't nothing magnificent about the story, but I guarantee you, if you're a guy, you're listening to this and you're like, whoa, I do the same thing. Or you identified with the other person who's like, how could someone be so stupid to put their wallet in their back pockets? Either way, this is something that was ordinary. This is something that wasn't grand or a big spectacle. Instead, it was a simple thing in my life that I was able to expand upon. And there was no lying or anything involved. I didn't need to create this big conflict out of thin air. It was me just expanding on something that I noticed. So see if you could do that. Go around you today and look around you, whether it's household items or it's routine concepts, such as the story that I told you right now. It was a routine concept. It's something that I took for granted. Then suddenly I noticed it. Let me just give you one more example. I've been going to the dentist since last year, and the dentist practice that I go to, the dentist guy that owns it, he's a very charming fellow. And his nurses or his assistants, whatever you call them, are charming themselves. Whenever I go there, they are always touching me. They're always touching my shoulder, like, Mr. Chowdhury, how are you doing? Armani, how are you doing? And just touching my shoulders a lot. They touch it in a certain way where I pay attention to what they're saying, whether they're saying good news or bad news. As some time is going on by, I'm doing these routine checkups. One day, one of the assistants touches my shoulder and she's like, look, Armani, you got to take flossing more seriously, but not just the regular kind of floss that you're probably using right now. You need the water floss. I look at her and I'm like, what's a water floss? And then she starts giving me this little sales presentation on the water floss. She starts using it right in front of me. And she's like, you need to get one of these today, because once you get it, your teeth are going to be so freaking shiny. It'll only be $42.95. So it wasn't rocket science or anything. I ended up buying the water floss. Well, recently, I was hanging out with a few fraternity brothers, and a few of them were dentists themselves in different parts of the US. I tried to break the news to them. Yo, guys, I got a water floss. I thought they were gonna be giving me a pat on the back, but that's not what they did. They're like, Armani, you really got conned into buying one of those? That's junk. All it does is it swirls the water around in your mouth. There's a lot of movements, but nothing is happening. You're much better just using the traditional floss. I could just keep going with the story, but as you can tell, this is something else that is rather simple, but I could easily keep expanding on it. It's floss. It's in my crib, but how often am I telling stories on it? Never, unless I force myself to. So the challenge for today is to be like Seinfeld. Find a random household item or concept and just keep expanding upon it more and more and more. Don't just notice one thing. Try to notice 10 things about it and keep stringing your ideas together. Along. And eventually, what's going to happen is that your perception regarding storytelling is going to go from something that you feel a lot of tension in terms of doing to it now being easy, like simply stating your name. Try it out for yourself. If you enjoyed today's video, go on and drop that like for me right on below, and you shared this video on your social media of choice. Thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I will catch you on the next episode.